Yeah.
You don't have the luxury of just, hi, my name is Dr. Gilda. I'm so glad to be here.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. And all
Everybody's
this,
already asleep, right?
the what did you say?
Everybody's already asleep and you do that.
Yeah, well, that's it. It's saccharine. It's just like everybody else, and you're trying to establish yourself as the person that they decided to pay to be there. Now, why did they choose you after all the millions of people have flooded their inboxes with, "Oh, choose me, choose me, choose me," and they chose you. You have to have such admiration for your own work that you understand what you can deliver, and then you will take apart in the privacy of your own house or office, wherever you are. You will take apart the how, but you have to understand you were chosen for a reason.
Well, when you're talking about being chosen, I was thinking about all the speaker bureaus that, where I'm listed or where you're listed, and how there's so much competition out there, different topics, and you and I
I,
talked
I
about
don't, I don't use that word.
competition.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's competition
Yeah.
for
Okay.
you.
There's
How I
so
do
many
it.
choices that they could make when they're looking out for
Yes, but that's not a
It's not
competition
a competition,
for you
but
because
it is in terms of their time that they spend looking on a website. They are looking at so many different profiles and so many different offerings, and you want people, of course, to look at yours. And it depends. I mean, a lot of people are on, just e-speaker profiles or just basic ones that tie into other profiles. And I, I think it's really hard for people to know where to showcase their abilities. I mean, of course, everybody's on the social media channels and they have their bios and their stuff there. But I think that a lot of companies go to these speaker bureau sites to look for big names, and then they're going to see the same big, Hollywood names right next to your name. And how do you stand out?
um, first of all, you have to believe that you're standoutable, and that's therapy. I mean, you really have to, you really have to believe that what you have is totally different from what everybody else has. Now, you and I talk very similar content things.
Mhm.
Uh, you go much deeper into the techie stuff. I don't,
Mhm.
but I go much deeper into the pop culture stuff, and
Mhm.
you don't.
Mhm.
And so that may be what separates us: the blonde hair versus the red hair. I mean, this is what. So they look at your credentials, what you've done, where you've been, but the credentials don't show everything. The credentials just show, okay, somebody hired you for that particular place,
Right.
but that doesn't show enough. So then you have your snippet from your reel of what you have done, or your little reel that shouldn't be very long, and they can look at you there. Sometimes the reel shows you in front of a huge audience, sometimes the reel shows you in front of a little tiny audience, but they are looking for your ability to deliver the content, but to also keep their audience awake.
Yeah.
I know this sounds so basic, but it's a matter of keeping them awake, because after the first 7 seconds, the audience tendency is to just drop off. And we know about the science of listening, that nobody listens on a plateau like this 100% of the time. They can't, they'd be knocked out.
Mhm.
So they listen, then they drop out, then they listen, then they dropped out. So you have to be sure that your buzzwords are continuing to come at various intervals. So then when the person is, oh, they hear the buzzword, oh,
I'm
and
supposed
they
to know
wake up and they're engaged again.
Well, it's
What
all
was
about
it?
crescendo. You want to build, and then
Well,
yeah. There's a pace, and it's if it's always like monotone in the certain style, people are definitely going to drop out a lot sooner. And I think that,
Of course. Yeah.
I was watching a speaker and she was talking about how her husband had died, and I didn't know it was going to be that, and you're listening to the story and she was very building and building and building. And then all of a sudden he dies, and her
Oh,
story. And then it drops to complete, another level. And the way she told the story was, I don't know if I'd want to tell that story so much because it would just constantly bring your emotions into it, you know what I mean? But it was her kind of core key story that she was tying into examples for other things. But it made me appreciate the value of just building to this peak, this crescendo, and then slowing it down, and then building and then slowing it down. You know what I mean? Not just being not monotone as you talk and having your voice up and down and all this kind of stuff. You know what I mean? There's an up and down to the entire piece.